The first one there, the one that's
Okay, we're good.
Diver Unity City,
Yeah.
that's a no.
Right?
I think this sends a completely wrong message.
Boy with the boot?
Boy with loot. You've sold out for money?
I didn't know I thought it was more about.
No.
Great, you can go ahead and call to order whenever you're ready, Kevin.
Okay. I liked this, but I didn't realize it was boy with the
No.
boot.
It sends a really bad message.
Yeah.
Marcia Carrington,
Here.
Sean Daly,
Here.
Robin Lloyd, Chris Parthmore, Adam Ramsdale,
Here.
Brian Stanley,
Here.
Cable Steineman,
Here.
Jordan Sternberg,
Here.
Martha Weichel,
Here.
Blake Harris, Michelle Newell,
Here.
Aaron Blair.
Here.
Great, everyone should have received the minutes. Do I have any motions? Is a motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor to approve the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Current business, Aaron, vinyl mural program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have 12 proposals. I do have 2 other ones where the file sizes were too small. There's a couple in here where the file sizes were too small, but I was able to put them into Photoshop and scale them up. And from what I could tell, they were unchanged, so the art still remained intact. But I would make sure to let the artist know that I did that if we chose them. So that a next step will be to let the artist know that those images were scaled up. Some folks were struggling to see how, especially pieces of visual art that's already completed that they were taking pictures of as opposed to a piece of digital art to scale them appropriately. But I believe that these 12 are scaled appropriately. They're big enough files to be able to be printed at the size that we are looking for. And I told all of the artists we were going to be chatting about the proposals tonight. I sent out the presentation yesterday along with our qualifications, the criteria for review that we put in the packet. So if y'all could fill those out and send them to me, I will tally everything up so we have our finalists for the program. Just a reminder, we did budget for up to 6 of these based on I think it was a 10 by 15 size, 10 foot by 15 foot size, and the commission directed me to leave that flexible in the program. So if you found one you wanted to make really big and you wanted to spend more budget on that, you could go that direction. So you can choose up to 6 according to our work plan that we have published. And then let me go ahead and share. I just wanted to share so everyone, the members of the public could see, anybody who's watching could see what proposals we received. And in the document included the artist's bio, whether their work had been previously displayed, and the proposal narrative. So those are the items that you see. I faded them back really light gray on purpose so that the art really is the leading piece on each slide. This artist is a Sandusky, Ohio, born and raised from Sandusky High School, and does commercial art. Their artistic passion, vibrant photographic pieces tend to showcase local assets and appear throughout the Lake Erie Shores region. They focus on capturing fresh perspective and beauty, often of things seen but overlooked. And this piece was previously displayed on canvas at the Canoe Club in Marblehead, Ohio. Their narrative talks about depicting communication of thought and feeling into visual expression. This sunny selfie infuses happiness into its viewer with its whimsical pose, vibrant yellow petals, and playful sunglasses. I won't read the whole thing, but the end quote is, "The future's so bright, I gotta wear shades." They sent 2 versions, so this is the photograph version, and they also did a digital watercolor version of this, so there's 2 for us to choose between. And you'll notice in the spreadsheet I sent, the line that has the sunny selfie for evaluation asks you to indicate which is your preference, which would be 1A or 1B, the watercolor version or the photo version. If that one was a finalist, we know which one was everybody's favorite. The next piece, this artist submitted two versions, two options titled This Is Us. They were born in Sandusky, Ohio, and graduated from Sandusky High. They have a BA in liberal arts, social science, graphic design. They do freelance multi-medium artists and creative endeavors, and they believe in thinking out of the expected norm in order to look at things differently. This piece, and according to the artist, sums up downtown Sandusky in a whole. It's a diverse, unified culture with monumental landmarks and historic buildings where different cultures, races, and people with different beliefs come together as one for greater good. So this is the first one they sent, and they also sent an alternative version. On my computer, this came up with a dark background when I looked at the image, but when I put it into PowerPoint, it came up with the white background. So that would be something, if this one was elevated into a finalist position, we would want to confirm with the artist whether they intended this one to be on a white background or a dark background. The next one is from an artist who's a local art teacher from Huron, Ohio. They primarily work in illustration and design, but they've devoted the past 2 years to demonstrating the importance of visual arts in communities. Along with their students, they have designed and painted several public murals. This one's titled North Star. It highlights, according to the artist's narrative, Sandusky's continued beauty and the relevancy throughout history. So they note Sandusky's involvement in the Underground Railroad, involvement in local and global economies. Also, they depicted a selection of flowers native to the area. The North Star, which is the title of the piece, is visible on the top right corner. It serves as a navigational tool for enslaved peoples who were seeking freedom. And for many, Sandusky served as the final stop before reaching freedom in Canada. The train in the center of the image represents the Sandusky's connection to the Mad River and Lake Erie rail line, which was the first in the state, and its use aided in the growth of national and local economies and allowed for accessible travel. Due to Sandusky's involvement, it became a major exporter, the city did. The next piece is entitled Shrooms. This was a pencil drawing. This is one of the ones that I upscaled in Photoshop, and I believe it worked very successfully because of the nature of a colored pencil drawing. It already has blurry lines, so it was able to upscale large enough to print and look just like this at the scale the artist intended it to. And I would confirm, again, if this one was elevated to the top, I would confirm that with the artist before we printed it at that scale. This artist is self-taught from Sandusky. They like to paint, draw, work with clay, and create jewelry as a therapeutic outlet, and likes to create whimsical and colorful works of art. Mushrooms are their favorite subject matter. This one is displayed on the artist's website and has been displayed during Sandusky art walks. This is a Prismacolor pencil drawing featuring 3 otherworldly looking mushrooms. One of their favorite things to do is create whimsical and imaginative worlds that leave it to the viewer's imagination to interpret into a world they create with their own mind. They create their art in their spare time and between their 2 jobs and caring for their flock of parrots, and it's therapeutic to them, and they like to do work that truly makes them happy and wants to make others happy as well. Number 5, so this artist sent us multiple variations of The Boy with the Lute is what this piece is called. So there's 4 different versions of this piece, and they gave us a nice sales pitch and said they're the most suitable for the position. They're reputable and innovative, but have an attested portfolio and with details that details various jobs that required excellence. So their portfolio includes logos, brand identity, signage, illustrations, murals, and other aspects of brand awareness. They're industrious and make sure that any job that they work on and will be completed not only with the spirit of excellence but promptly. They've done projects including work with the Baltimore Ravens, the NBA, ESPN, and more. The only place this particular piece, The Boy with the Lute, has been displayed was on Facebook, but this is an updated version they created for this project that has not been seen in public yet. The Boy with the Lute is a modern remake of The Boy with the Boot. They posted the idea 3 or 4 years ago, got great feedback of the illustration, more than 400 likes, and they updated again to improve their artistic skills and proposed for this project. With this idea alone, they believe it will give the city a modern urban spin living in 2022, not only captivating history, but merging cultures as well. This artist expressed that they are willing to change the appearance of the outfits or add items if the commission directs them to do so. So this one, the boy with the lute, is depicted with a little bit of greenery and the sunlight. Next was a more plain black background with a golden light shining on the boy. There's a red background with more of a stark contrast between the figure and the background. There is a blue background with the shadow, the light coming in from the left side again. They also sent two other options. So the one on the left was a boy at the hoop, and that was the rectangular piece. The other page had three different ideas. One is a montage depicting Orlando Pace, and the one below that is a football player with the number 76, which I am assuming is a local player that I don't know, and y'all can let me know. And then the other one was a depiction of Aldershon Nix's number 19, Blue Streaks. So those were other ideas if the commission liked those better than the boy with the lute, and that was all from that same artist. One note is that in your spreadsheet that asks you to rank these pieces, I titled only one line with the boy with the lute. So if you prefer any of these options, just let us know in the notes and we can elevate those.
I have a question. When you have 20, do you add up 1 through 20 for each category that you're doing, or is that?
So the way that it works is like for one category, if the number of points available is 20, you can score in that for that cell for that piece anything from 0 to 20.
Okay.
And so so that's like every piece can be evaluated up to 100 total points.
Okay, that's what I need to know. Okay, thank you.
This artist, I actually met this artist at the Sandusky Farmers Market and encouraged them to apply for this program, so I was excited to see that they sent us a proposal. This is a locally raised artist with an admiration for the stories, people, and places that's been molded into their personality and talents while growing up in the Firelands area. This poster has been screen printed and sold at events where they sell their artwork, so it's been on posters available to be publicly purchased. The artist says this piece pays tribute to the area known as the Firelands, from the shores of Lake Erie to the rolling hills in Huron County. There's so many places that hold a close place in their heart and the hearts of those who call this area home. The artist researched the history of city, towns, villages, and townships that made up the area and hand drew some of the most well-known places, monuments, and symbols. They hope to continue this series and focus on each city. So they do, if you've seen them out in the field, they have a couple that are specific to a city, and they said they're working on a Sandusky specific one as well. Their hope is to continue the series by focusing on each city and town and do a deep dive into the elements that bring the feelings of nostalgia and pride for someone's hometown. They hope this piece will give local viewers the same sense of pride that they feel, and as well as giving tourists more insight on the rich history of the area. This next one is called Disrupted Darkness. It is, the artist says, from early high school classes through college studies at The Ohio State University to their adult life, drawing and painting and creating in general has served to define them in the world. Currently, they're a resident artist at Tag in Port Clinton, and this painting has been purchased by an individual in Pennsylvania. So this is a photograph of a painting. This is another one that I upscaled in Photoshop, which I believe worked successfully. You can see a little bit of the light casting onto this painting from the right from the photo, but I believe that it would print successfully, and you could see that it's a reproduction of a painting, which is not necessarily a bad thing because we are printing vinyl murals for this project. They describe the piece that says, disrupted darkness captures a moment when lightning illuminates the Lake Erie rocky shore to reveal the power and beauty of a summer storm. This painting was one of 6 painted for Atmospheric Effects exhibit at the Sundusky Culture Center. All were oil paintings implementing glazes to increase tone and mood. They also gave a photo credit to the original photographer of this, so if this one was elevated and printed, we would want to do the photo credit as well as the artist's name in the description. Next, we have Blue Streak. This artist is a 30-year-old painter, sign painter, and graphic designer living in downtown Sandusky. They are passionate about painting and spreading joy through art. The description here is that it is inspired by the fun atmosphere in Sandusky. This is another one that I upscaled from a photo that was too small. They sent 2 proposals. They both had their own application. That's why they both have their own number. They're not a version of each other like the other ones that were different versions of the same thing, so I gave it its own number. This one's called Sundusky Sunset, and it was inspired by the bright and warm colors that make the Sandusky skies so beautiful at nighttime over the water. And this is another one I upscaled. This one is called Carte Blanche. It is a 24-year-old self-taught digital artist, starting with photography. I began seriously drawing in 2015. Most of the artist's drive for drawing comes from spending countless hours studying the works of artists whose works have inspired them. Most of their work leans toward darker colors and themes. Carte blanche in French means blank document, and its expression used to mean complete freedom. They had this idea in mind when drawing. They wanted this piece to represent the unique mix of city and country that is Northern Ohio, and to represent a youthful freedom, almost depicting a private celebration of nothing in particular. It's okay to simply go without worry of leaving anything. The artist wanted this to be interesting to look at, to detail things that people might not even end up noticing, but that there's a lot of layers and detail in the piece. And their work has been featured in the Carrington Art Studio, as well as on the front page of the June 24th, 2021 Sandusky Register. I noticed several of you leaning in and squinting on this one. I had a similar reaction that a lot of this image comes up very dark on a digital screen, so we would want to work with the artist and the printer to make sure this was going to print okay. It's a digital artist. I'm sure that they could lighten up this or give it more depth than the the bottom 50% of this image before we printed it if this piece elevates. And I can even see on this screen, I can see a lot more detail. I can see her foot, I can see the bottom of the left bike, I can see his foot, whereas on here, I can't even really see her foot. So we would make sure that that would be worked out before printing if this piece was selected, just so you know.
Aaron, I could add that also if that's a southern-facing mural, it's going to portray itself as a lot lighter.
That's true, so we'll get a lot more sunlight. That's definitely spoken by an architect, thinking about the building face. Nice work. Good point, thank you. This next one, so this artist submitted 2 pieces. This is called Unlikely Friends. This artist is a 22-year-old student currently studying musical theater at Shenandoah Conservatory. While not a native, Sandusky is dear to their heart as a place where throughout childhood, along with siblings, they could always express themselves and connect the community through art, theater, and music. The story of this piece is in the title. You never know what connections you can experience when you open yourself up to them. So, preconceived notions don't usually help in making friends, illustrated by the balloon dog being willing to approach the tentacled creature. And sometimes the only thing people need to prove you wrong is a chance. This is illustrated by the creature who, when finally given a chance to connect, uses the opportunity to bestow a thoughtful gift upon his newfound friend, defying any expectations one might have of tentacled creatures. The same artist also submitted a piece called Why Not You? They painted this piece for this mural project. And they said, both of these pieces, by the way, I believe are photographs or scans of paintings, and I did upscale them both, and it looked to be very successful. I was in communication with the artist, and the artist upscaled them themselves, so I would use the ones the artist sent me to make sure that they were big enough for printing. But as far as I can tell, they had enough pixels, because they have to have like 20,000 pixels on each side to print at the scale we're trying to do. They said the story of this piece was heavily inspired by their current struggles with imposter syndrome. They're an almost college graduate, having a long, twisty road ahead. It can be confusing and daunting. And their defense getting weighed down is to add whimsy and aspects to their life. They use paintings to express themselves. In this story, there's being apprehended by a cute ghost on a journey to get the golden fruit is a conflict that seems a lot more appealing than whatever real-life struggles they might be going through. So this was their way of romanticizing and whimsifying the journey that we all experience. The person's looking up the hill, it's noticing all of the others that have tried and failed to complete the quest, and their imposter syndrome is telling them, well, the others have failed, how could I succeed? Whereas the orange arm of their friend is pointing towards the path, asking them, why not you? And that completes the submissions that we got. I think we got to get some good stuff to look at. And I think that it could be, so we don't want to pick until everybody's scored, so I wanted to reiterate, use the scoring criteria, and we'll add those up. I think a good use of this time is to talk about, like, is anything in the scoring criteria unclear? Do you have specific requests or questions for any of the artists you would like me to reach out to them about in the meantime? Is there anything else that's come up for you while you're reviewing this to help us make sure we can continue this process? Those are my questions, and obviously I'm interested in yours as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's open up to questions.
Yeah, I'd like to go first because I have to get out of here. I'm pretty much okay with everything that's been submitted. I would like to throw caution to the first This Is Us, which is the one that was Diver Unity City written out on it. I think it's just trying to do too much. I think as a image, it just doesn't work. Secondly, I'd like to draw attention to the boy with the lute, which I'm presuming this is the same artist that did our bus shelter art. And I really have no problem with the execution of these. I do have a problem with the message. I think it's a message of selling out. I think it's a message of the city selling out. I think it could be construed as that by negative thinkers in our community. You said he's willing to change the image, get rid of the money aspect. I think as they're submitted, I don't think they're appropriate for the city, a reflection on the city. The disrupted darkness, I think, is probably the most accomplished piece we got. I could see that being bigger. That's the seascape, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think that could be bigger even if the final selection be for that. And you already covered my issue with the carte blanche, is that it's really dark. So those are my cautionary notes. I got to run, so.
Any questions on scoring?
No questions. I'll get it done.
Is there a deadline for scoring, or we want to say
It's a great question.
tomorrow, Friday,
But
tonight?
no, I mean, we can give people a week. I feel like
I
Tuesday.
think that's more than generous.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Alright.
sorry about this. I have to run.
So you can.
Bye.
Thanks.
Aaron, I didn't realize the last two categories were 10, not 20,
Yes.
so I'll resubmit.
Okay, thank you.
Just about it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably what I'll do. Do we, so we can have up to 6, does that mean we have to have 6, or could we have like 4?
We can have 4. Yep. And then we have to decide where each one's going, and that would be, and then the building owners get veto power on that. So I think what I like to do is, once I get everybody's scoring, I'll do like a top whatever, and I can send you on email the top whatever, and then you can tell me your top 3 places where you'd put that one. And so I could have all those results by the next meeting, just so we don't have to go through like multiple meetings to get this thing done.
That way we can execute.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I liked a lot of them too. I wished we had had more painterly stuff, like more paintings. I mean, I like all the graphics, but most of them are very graphic, I think. So, because I had reached out to a lot of painters, but just didn't.
I agree with Marsha on that, but in the one that's actually a painting, it looks like a photograph when you're looking at it digitally. Like, I had no idea it was a painting, but like I
There's multiple of these that are paintings, actually.
I really like the blue streak and the sunset.
So this is a painting, this is a painting, that's
Yeah.
digital, this is a painting, this is a painting, that's a painting, that's
Sure.
digital, those are digital, obviously.
Yeah.
And this is a pencil drawing, those are digital, and this is a photograph in digital watercolor. So I think it's about half and half,
No,
actually.
you're right.
I kind of lean with the painting.
I do have one counterpoint, if you'll entertain, with the boy with the lute. Like, that to me just spoke very proudly of like hip hop culture. It didn't at all read for me about selling out. It just seemed like Black culture to me, which I think is something to be celebrated in the city. So
I mean, it could be even sacrifice or whatever, there could be the theme of it.
But I know.
Yeah, it could be he pulled himself up from his bootstraps and now he's got a pile of loot because he worked
So,
really hard.
I don't wanna-
Right?
I don't want to refer too much, but I think from a cable standpoint, it's also what interpretation of us putting public art out there.
Sure.
Right.
And, and I know who we're talking about as well. I mean, I think he'd be more than happy to work with, and I wouldn't say modify it on what our thoughts are, but to get maybe his message apart, out there as much as possible, and make that clear. But I like having interpretation involved as well. I mean, I think that's the intrigue. And some of the works that I thought were interesting weren't just blatantly in front of your face telling you exactly what this was. But I think it'd be also interesting to see what these artists, where they think those pieces would best be represented, high level-ish, large, what kind of background. It's like that one I think a lot of people consider pretty artistic, the seascape and all that. There's a place that would have little impact, and there's places that would be so cool because maybe blending it into the surroundings would even be a neater way of applying that art versus being a big block that this is on a red brick thing, and then why we have a dark sky on this building or whatever the case may be. So
Well, you match the horizon up
Yeah.
from one perspective, and you can actually put a marker where you can stand and see it actually blend in with the surrounding area,
Yeah.
potentially.
So I just think an application of any of these could be make or
So
break
it's a
when it comes to
perspective,
impact.
force perspective,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Horizon is a big consideration for me too, like when you, in the theater, the murals in the theater, when
Yep.
you look at them, like you're so close to the outside and everyone knows where the horizon is when you're inside the building, and then those horizons are wacky.
We're right.
Blurred for sure.
So it's like, we're gonna fix that, but.
This is probably a question for the next meeting, but when it comes to like producing these, are we gonna have like a standard size of dimensions, or are they gonna just be printed 100% like at their dimensions? I'm sure that we could probably discuss that at some point, like do they fit into like a 16 by 9 or are they gonna be printed at their original
Revised to
dimensions?
fit into a.
Because it might depend on the printer that we select and how they produce those and
Yeah,
If
I'll-
something gets cropped,
sizing and stuff.
you know how much.
Because I mean,
Right.
especially the ones that have been a painted work, it'd be nice to be able to show that there's brushstrokes involved with that work.
Right.
Instead of like, I mean, it might be so nice that it seems like a photo, but it'd be nice at some vantage point, like, oh crap,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
actually painted.
So I looked at all of these at 100%, which
Yeah.
basically shows me like this much on my computer screen to make sure they're not blurry, they're not pixelated. I went and looked, because it takes a while to scroll through them on Photoshop, I looked to find where a crisp line met another crisp line to make sure that line was crisp and not jagged and pixelated or blurry. So these would all print, I'm fairly certain, based on my limited expertise in file size, but I've done a lot of design stuff,
Yeah,
that
so
these
you
will
don't-
all print, like you will be, if you get close to that thing, if you can see brushstrokes in their painting that you can see on this screen at this scale, you'll be able to see them at that scale.
I've seen that original too, it's very painterly, it's beautiful, but it's definitely, you can see that it's a painting. So I think made larger, you'll be able to tell that.
It just may be worth looking at the aspect ratio question.
Yeah,
for
so
the
they all submitted what they proposed, like, I have like 10 by 15, 9 by 14. This one doesn't have a proposed dimension, but we can, the aspect we want to keep, like this one was 10 by 13.75. We want to keep the same dimension, the aspect ratio that the artist wanted. I asked for both of those because the commission wanted flexibility to scale up or scale down any of them. Like if you think any of them could be really neat at a much smaller, like I want this one to be 15 by 25, but this one would be really cool if we just snuck it over here at 3 by 6, or you know what I mean? Like you can give those directions in the notes on your
Do we have-
evaluation as well.
Do we have any quotes on capabilities of people who can manufacture these on their size?
I did get one local company that reached out to me immediately as soon as this hit. I think the paper printed the proposal call for artists and social media, and they said, hey, we can do these. Here's a bunch of places where we've done these. And they sent like 5 examples of really different sizes and shapes. Like if any of you have been to Everwild, they have like their logo that's cut out on an entire wall. I totally thought was paint, and it was a vinyl mural that they printed and installed. So we definitely have the expertise locally. The company that I used to quote these originally was out of Toledo, just because that was who I happened to find. But I definitely think I will put out once we have how many and what sizes there are, then we'll ask for bids and because I have to get 3 bids to be able to award the work, because it's $25,000, and I'll have to take it to city commission. So there's definitely process, but that's just the way government works.
Well, let's just say if we only hypothetically chose 4, would we be able to have another grouping within a year or whatever to see about putting in other locations?
So, well, we said this is going to be a 2 to 5 year project. We will be soon moving into our brainstorming session timeframe for what we're going to do in 2023. So, you could decide to do this. You could install 4 this year and decide you want to do it again next year. We'll do 4 more. We could follow a similar process.
I think once we do this, I think you're gonna get a lot.
Oh, yeah, people were going, I don't want to do that. Honestly, I thought about it. I've got a bunch of digital paintings. I was like, maybe I
I
should.
think we're gonna be pretty
back
busy
off.
the next round. And the third round's probably gonna be even busier.
So, yeah, I think it's a quality over quantity. I think at that
Correct.
point, especially out of this crop, in my opinion.
And we should have that in mind going forward
Right.
with our choices for,
Set a standard to a certain degree.
don't
And-
necessarily have to pick 6, yeah.
We did get 10 building owners that agreed, or maybe 11, and we only have a budget for 6, so we do have some holdover to even install some more next year if we want to. Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely, I would just be careful in the way you evaluate and, give me direct feedback as far as what you think we should do. If it's just like, I absolutely think we should do these 3 and only these 3 and at this size, like you can be as specific as you want and I'll just compile all that. I'll make it more anonymous and like report it all back to you, so.
I don't mind the
I think
digital.
choosing a building should be just as precautionary as how much we put in the effort into the quality over quantity. Especially on the first round. I think the first round's really gonna make this program take off.
I wonder if it's worth revisiting those locations with like the top 5 to 8 that we go through the next time. Just kind of like,
Good idea.
maybe we get some feedback from the artist, but at the same time, like,
I don't
get some
remember.
ideas, like this one would be
Oh,
all.
no, I think it's gonna start conversation. It's gonna get a lot more broad than where we're at right now.
And it's specifically in the program that the commission will choose the location.
So that's basically the next step anyway.
Yeah.
You have the ability to like render that. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, after I don't want to do every single one and every single one, but
Once
like,
we-
yeah, I could pop that in and show you kind of what that would look like
Did you get my
within
note
the
that
sign.
there's a copyright issue with one of the submissions?
No, I didn't look at yours. I was just like, I just saved it in the folder.
Because
I put it in the notes.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Which one? Or
oh, yeah. Is it the Jersey?
I'm gonna
No.
hesitate to say it in here, in the notes.
Okay.
Any other questions for Aaron or about the process?
I was just gonna say, I really, I like the digital ones, but in my head, I feel like this project should be different than like the bus stops and like the bus, like that was I don't know, I just feel like it should have like a different feel. Some of them, like I like the paintings a lot. And I think in my head, I just feel like it shouldn't be like so similar to what we already did. I feel like we should like go a little different route. Not that we can't use some of, but I think the paintings are really neat, so.
I agree. I think having that painting, the brush strokes that you can see is
Yeah.
gonna go a lot further than just some digital art
Yeah.
would be.
That's just my opinion. But I mean, they're all, the artwork is great. I just feel like, I don't know, I just want it to look different. I imagine it looking different, this project being different than the bus, which that was a great project, but I just feel like we should veer to a different, so.
in the future, if there was any way we could get an artist, like, there was one particular artist I'm thinking about that I haven't heard from, but who would do something like a really amazing portrait, like Frederick Douglass or something, but like a real innovative look.
I even think, even when it comes to someone like Orlando Pace, don't make it so specifically clear, like this is a person who played for these teams, here are the awards. Like, tell more about the person. Like, I believe this artist is related to to Orlando. But put something in the art that kind of tells the type of person he is, not necessarily the accomplished. Everybody can look that up online. Like,
Yeah.
people represent him.
Yeah.
Like he's more than just that. Like he's more than just,
Right.
playing football.
I mean, people know him for that, but,
Right.
there's a generosity and humbleness to a person.
Someone behind that.
Like him standing, like an early version of him standing on the goal line, just standing there. No number on him, just that first game type thing, you know? You may become famous for football later on down the road, but, or just, something else, and his involvement in the community, not necessarily in the NFL.
So a couple themes, I heard a interest in portraits. So one thing we could do if there were interest in portraits is if we run this program again, to specifically say we want portraits of historic figures that were active in Sandusky. Or, like we have the ability, like we designed this program.
Do this every.
We can create a theme package that's much tighter and they look like a cohesive installation, whereas this one we were purposely very open and broad for the call for artists. So like thinking about how we might run it again next time, or, I also assumed that the vinyl mural project might be a little bit of a gateway to getting the broader community used to the idea of seeing murals downtown, that we might get support and interest in painting some actual murals that were more permanent. So if we, the Arts Commission could potentially pursue projects, we have the artist-led grant program that's been available that no one's taken advantage of. And so there's definitely lots of opportunity to get more big pieces of public art visible, not only downtown, but, throughout the city.
All right, if you don't have anything else, we'll move on to old business. Any old business? Any new business?
One, to report that we did receive one submission for an art box, and I have to vet that it's the box that they gave me a photo for and da-da-da, and I just have more work to do, so I can share that with you in September and hopefully get one of those moving too. And that call for artists is still open if anybody's listening and interested. We have the art box program, call for artists. That's an open program. We don't need a deadline for that one because it's just to the artist's timeline, and that is still available, and we hope to see more proposals for that.
Share it, tell your friends, I guess. Any other new business? Any motions to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Hey.